And we're off.
And we're back!
Charlie Hopper here with Ray Pinker.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Live from the Camry.
CC's Coffee.
We're back. Had to go up one, Charlie. Had to go up a level. Gotta go up.
The tall boy.
You know why I needed more coffee, Charlie?
Why is that?
Because of the CEO challenge you and I are embarking on.
How's your CEO challenge been going?
It's not looking so good, man.
So if I had to grade myself, I'd probably give myself a C+.
Okay, cool.
Because some days, I got up early. I wrote my gratitude, my 3 things of focus. I journal, had quiet time. I worked out. Got home from work, put the cell phone down. Went to bed fairly early. I'd say 9:30. Didn't do the bath thing.
No shower or bath at night?
Sometimes I'd shower, but not consistently.
Okay.
So that was great. Where my downfall happened Friday. So we started we talked about it Tuesday. So Wednesday good, Thursday good, Friday I had a wedding that night. And so when I woke up that morning, I was like, man, I'm getting to sleep.
You're totally hungover.
No, so I went to the wedding. I got home from the wedding about midnight. And then my daughter was up. We had to wake her. She was up. So
It
we
was
had
a family wedding, a cousin.
wedding. Yeah, cousin got
tonight.
married. So 12:30, 1 o'clock when I'm shutting down. There's no way I'm getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock the next day. And then that next day we had soccer game at 8, errands to run, birthday party at 2, crawfish boil at 4:30.
Crawfish, nice.
And, so it was a full day. Go to bed, I think at a decent time, probably 9:30. But then Finley's waking up at every 2 hours. So, fail again on Sunday. So, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I did not do well with the CEO challenge. But
What about Monday?
Monday, I did pretty good. I got up around 5.
And today?
Same thing.
Made it up 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, was that your first, before we go to that, is that your first crawfish of the season?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't had it yet either.
It was awesome.
For me, everything was going good. And then I got strep throat. Did I tell you I got strep?
You told me you were sick, but you didn't specify the disease, the illness.
I got strep, and so that was, Wednesday night, I started feeling bad.
What do you mean feel bad? Like,
Sore throat, headache, low energy.
yeah.
And
The low energy is pretty common for you. Like, you don't ever really bring the energy.
they call me low energy Jeb. So Thursday I was feeling bad physically. So then I started taking antibiotics, and it just wasn't feeling 100%. So I stopped working out.
Yeah.
So the things that have gone great for me is having the phone not charging on my nightstand is something that I'm going to continue doing.
Yes.
Regardless.
Yes.
That piece has worked
The best.
really well.
Yeah.
Another piece that's worked well is going to bed earlier.
Yes.
I've been able to get to bed pretty much 9 to 9:30 every night.
Yeah.
So that Wednesday night, I was starting to feel bad, and so I think I went to bed early, like 8:30. And Brandy finished the night routine with all the kids and stuff. But every night I've pretty much been getting to bed at 9:30. There's really only been one night that I was up later than that, and I think that was Saturday, and we were out of town all day, and I went to bed at 10. So wake up time has been good. That first day, I guess that Wednesday, the alarm didn't go off or something. I couldn't make it. But ever since then, wink, wink. But ever since then, I've been waking up at 5 every morning.
Yeah.
And except for the weekend, I didn't mess around on the weekend. And let's see, things that have gone pretty well are the waking up early in the morning has been nice because I've been able to read and be awake when the kids start waking up. But so all in all, I'm gonna continue trying to go to bed early,
Yeah.
continue trying to wake up early, continue keeping my phone in the other room. I'm also gonna continue trying to have some type of similar night routine
Yeah.
every night, and I think that is going to include a bath or a shower. In fact, the first time I didn't take a bath or shower was last night.
Yeah.
It was the first night that I missed that part of the routine. But it helps me fall asleep faster. Partly waking up early helps me fall asleep faster too. So
Well, you had offered me before we met an energy drink. So that Saturday, I was already tired from the night before, and I told you I had a full day, so I got an energy drink. I mean,
what'd you get?
Yeah, I went to Dollar Tree, and they had one of those dollar energy shots.
Oh yeah, okay.
What's
Just some no brand,
No
99
brand,
cent
yeah,
energy,
yeah.
like 5 hour energy, except a knockoff.
Yeah, generic, yeah. Well, that night, I mean, I should have been dog tired. I mean, I had a full night the night before. I should have been exhausted. Outside all day, doing stuff. I couldn't fall asleep.
Okay. So it worked.
It worked,
Success.
but I
Worked a little too well.
Yeah, I like the fact when I lay my head on the pillow, drinking just coffee.
What time? What time did you take this
Probably
no name energy shot?
1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, around 1. And that was really it. So,
Do you know what it was called? 6 hour energy or 8 hour energy?
I don't know what it was called. It
Energy
was $1.
Blaster.
It was $1.
99 cent energy.
But I noticed I used to drink a lot of energy drinks in the past, but lately when I drink them, it gives me a little bit of energy, and then I just feel kind of cranky and angry.
Yeah, I do not have that problem.
Well, that's my problem.
I don't drink them very often. I probably drink an energy drink once every couple of months.
Yeah.
You know, like if I can't even remember the last time I had one, if that gives you
Yeah.
an idea. But I get those. I typically wind up getting a Monster energy drink.
Which one?
I've been getting that white one. Have you seen the white
Yeah.
one?
It's like
Yeah.
no sugar, no
Yeah,
carbs.
no sugar. Yeah, I don't know what it is. What's in this stuff? But it tastes good and I feel good, and I don't have any crash or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would have gotten today.
Yeah.
But coffee's is,
Coffee doesn't let me down. It served its purpose.
yeah, it does what it. So this is the first time I've gotten this cold brew coffee. Or an iced coffee, whatever you call it. Normally I get a hot coffee, but sometimes I just don't feel like just drinking a bunch of hot liquid.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying this. But this is pretty good. This has got chocolate in it. 2 scoops of ice cream.
And I feel wonderful. I've never felt better.
Yep.
But I even noticed, as you get older, which I'll be 40 this year, which is crazy. Man, I just need more rest. Like, I am not recovered. I mean, from that busy weekend, Friday and Saturday specifically. I mean, I got a good night's rest last night. I'm tired today. I just can't. I can't do like I used to. What was fun about the wedding though, is we're playing some old school, school music, back in the club music, and my signature move back in the partying days was the knee slide.
Knee slide all day.
Every wedding was called out. Everybody wanted to see it. So sure enough, we're out there at the wedding, and they're playing. I think.
Did somebody know that you did the knee slide?
Nobody knew.
No one knew.
But my sister-in-law, who likes to dance, and she can dance good, called me out, and I said, "Hey, I know what you see just as white dude, but no, I'm half Guatemalan, and you're gonna call out the beast." And she called it out, dude, and I busted it out.
They laughed.
They were
cheered.
impressed. They cheered. They were shocked to see me do a knee slide. It was a lot of fun. It was funny because they were playing. What was the song? I don't know, man. It's some of the lyrics to these songs. Like you're dancing to me, like all the dance moves to it. And you're like, Man, this song's pretty horrible.
Well,
But it was fun. It was a good time. You know, we had mom came in town, had a babysitter. So I was able to let loose a little bit.
have y'all done any Easter egg hunts yet with the kids?
No, we got 2 coming up, Saturday and Sunday.
So, Saturday, while you were, I guess you were recovering on Saturday.
Putting ice on my knees.
Ice in your
Ice in my knees.
You're
Well,
blowing out ACL.
yeah, I got 30 minutes of dancing and that's a wrap.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.
So Saturday we spent all day with my brother's family. So my brother's daughter had a little birthday party, so our girls went with them, and then me and my son, we went and rode bikes at Nichols University, we had a great time. There was nobody on campus. We rode around. You know, they had a tennis match going. They had a football game going, which I guess was some kind of spring football game or something. We had a great time. The weather, this time of year, the weather's incredible. And then we had lunch, and then we all got back together. We went to their church. They do this huge, 20,000 Easter egg type of Easter
Did
egg.
you drop it with a helicopter?
No helicopter.
That's how we do it in Texas, bro.
Yeah, that went terrible. Which we talked about. So we get to the thing, and it's like this big field, and there's eggs everywhere. It's very similar to how it was in Dallas. And in Dallas, they did a helicopter was gonna dump out, a bunch of eggs, and so
But we add to it, their intention was they section off different parts for, like, if you're this age bracket, you go here. If you're this age bracket, go here. But when they release the eggs,
yeah. So once the helicopter, so the kids get excited because there's a big helicopter.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was very cool. I mean, it's this big helicopter flying around, dropping eggs out. So it was.
I think the idea sounds good. Like
the great plan. It was a great plan.
I'm gonna load up the eggs in the helicopter. We're gonna airdrop them.
Kids
and
will
release
love
the kids.
it. Kids
love
will love it.
Love it.
But as soon as the chopper started dumping
The
eggs,
chopper.
the chopper, get in the chopper.
Get to the chopper!
As soon as the chopper started dumping eggs, it was complete pandemonium. And the big kids are taking the little kids' eggs. I mean, people are crying.
Ant piles,
There's ants.
ants everywhere.
It was terrible.
I remember, like, the workers. This is at a church, so they're trying to hold back everybody, and they just couldn't do it.
So at this thing, it was very similar layout. There, each age group,
Yep.
kids and all that, and so the little girls the church volunteers are walking around, and they're telling us, now we're all going to enter on this side of the field. And I said, we're not. I told the girl, I said, we're not doing that. And she's like, what? Because it's like a bunch of, it's church volunteers, and it's a mixed crowd, and they don't know us, but because it's not our church, it's my brother's church.
Yeah.
And I said, we're not doing that. And she's like, why? I said, well, we did this in Dallas, and it was like chaos, and the little kids didn't get eggs. So I'm gonna take my little kid, who's like this big, like 2-year-old, 15 pounds or 20 pounds of nothing. I said, when y'all sound the alarm, I'm gonna pick her up and just set her over the rope right here and let her get her eggs right in this little area, teeter totter around and get eggs. And the volunteer girl, she didn't know what to say. She was like, okay. So she walked around, but over time, the lady who was kind of organizing the event, she told us after that was the original plan, that somehow it got misconstrued. So they, so I'm telling the baby, I said, now look, because there were stuffed animals out on the field too.
Whoa.
And I'm like, you see that little bear? Because it was a little bear, like, right there. I said, you see that little bear? I said, as soon as they say go, you run and get that little bear. And she said, okay, Daddy. I said, what are you going to do when I say go? She said, I'm going to get that little bear. I said, what are you going to do when I say go? I'm going to get that little bear. What are you going to do when I say go? I'm going to get that bear. She was geared up. And so we're waiting for the countdown. I keep reminding her every time, what are you going to do? Get the bear. What are you going to do? I'm going to get the bear. So she's just lasered in to get that bear. 3, 2, 1, go, Rosalie, go. She jumps, she starts running, and it's the first egg she sees. She stops, picks up an egg. I'm like, the bear, the bear, the bear. And she's like, she goes running.
What was so great about this bear? You just really wanted it?
Yeah, it was just, there's a million eggs that are going to be filled with melted starbursts or whatever. Sure. So this little bear would be something that you could hang on to and remember, and just this little stuffed animal. It was nice. So then we go up to the next level. If we wait, we have to wait one age bracket, and then the next age bracket is like 5 or 6 year old bracket. And so I've got my little guy, and we're standing at the edge of the thing now. My 6-year-old, he's big, he's tall, he's big, he's bigger than everybody. At his age group, he's the tallest kid in his class. And so we're standing at the edge of the thing, and there is a gigantic bag of jelly beans, like right there. It's just like the same routine. And so I tell him, I was like, buddy, what you gonna do? He said, so I see him looking at it, and I look to the right, and there's a little boy and his mama to the right, and I see them looking at this giant bag of jelly beans, and I said, Everett, what are you gonna do when they say go? And he said, I'm gonna get those jelly beans. I said, okay. And then I leaned over to the little kid. I said, hey buddy, what are you gonna do when they say go? What are you gonna get? He said, I'm gonna get those jelly beans. And I was like, this might not be good.
You just said, no, you're not. I don't think so.
Well, so here's how.
Honestly, I hope you like those legs, because I'm about to take them out.
So here's how it's gonna go. They're gonna say 3, 2, 1, go, and either my little guy is gonna get to the jelly beans first, and that kid's gonna try to snatch them, and they're gonna start fighting, or he's gonna get the jelly beans first, and my kid is definitely gonna snatch those jelly beans, and it's gonna be on. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yep.
If that kid gets the jelly beans first, it's gonna be a fight. And so I moved them on. I was like, let's go over here, and we walked a few feet, and sure enough, there was another big sack of jelly beans, and he got the jelly beans. So afterwards, I was telling Brandy about it, and she told me another part of the story that happened before I got there. She said her and that same lady and kid were standing right there, and they were both talking about the jelly beans. And Brandy told our little guy, now, she's trying to head it, because she sees the same thing I see, like, hey, this is going to be a fight.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to talk about sharing and doing the right thing or whatever. And then she looks over at the other mama, and the other mama's like, when they say go, you do whatever it takes. You get those jelly beans. You get those beans. And Brandy's like, oh my gosh.
Well, that was the one we did last year in Dallas. That was shocker. I mean, like some parents are more aggressive than the kids.
Oh, they had parents grabbing stuff too. The lady had to come on the microphone. Remember, this is for the children.
So, this is done by your brother's church.
Yes.
Which I guess the intention is outreach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it serves that purpose?
I mean,
Like,
it was a good event overall. It was
like
a
if
good
you measured it. Okay, we had 1,000 people show up.
They easily had 1,000 people.
How many people actually came to our church after going to this thing?
Yeah.
Well, I just wonder. It's just so the ones we're doing this weekend is going to be family. The family's going to do it.
So my mom told us a story. She said, which I remember. She said when we were kids, we were getting older, they would have a money egg, right? So
Like one egg.
yeah, they would have one like golden egg that was hidden super hard, and it'd have $3 in it or something. Money. There's a money egg.
Which back then, it's like $50 today.
It didn't matter if there was any money in
Yeah.
the egg. It was on. Well, so this year, instead of just having, there was one big money egg, but all the eggs had some kind of money in it. And so me and my brother were like just at another level of, I mean, we were
Focus.
already very competitive. I mean, kind of by nature.
Hold on, time out. Was this a family?
This is a
produced?
family function.
Okay, this ain't like the one you went to.
No, this is family function
Okay.
with cousins and grandma. There's maybe 7 kids.
In perspective,
on eggs.
what's the difference between you and your brother?
We're 3 years age difference.
Okay.
2 or 3 years age difference. So, and we know that there's money in the eggs. Now, we're both super competitive, and we both like money. We're both wired for money. And so when they rang that bell to go get eggs, I mean, we are.
Usain Bolt out there.
It is like the Olympics. I mean, you could not be any more focused. I mean, we're tearing the flower beds to shreds. I mean, it was like you let wild dogs loose. And we're hunting eggs, and the eggs are, because we are older kids now, so now the eggs are.
So you're like, what, 33, 34 at the time?
We were probably 13 and 10.
Okay.
Something like that.
So you had a speed advantage to your brother at this time.
Not much. I mean, he was always better at me than anything athletic or video games. He was the athlete I was not.
Sounds like you really you got some pain from that.
I think we've resolved it. But he
mentally, I got him mentally.
Yeah, but we were very competitive. So we're hunting the eggs, and it's like down to the last eggs.
Okay, time out. So they had, you knew how many eggs they had? They said, okay, there's 10.
Something like that.
Okay. All right, so down to the last egg.
We knew the eggs were pretty much out at this point. So it's just intense. Yeah. And we both see an egg, a green egg hidden in the grass. And we're both just like running for it, just trying to go for that egg. And he beats me to the egg. We're like coming from different angles. He beats me to the egg. He reaches out and he gets his hand on the egg. And I just curb stomped the egg. Just stomped it to smithereens. And I just stomped his hand. I mean, it was happening very fast. I was trying to get my foot onto
20 years later, he still hasn't recovered from the disabled hand he has.
I was
now.
trying to get my foot on the egg
Sure.
to say I got there first, and he was
No.
trying to get his hand on the egg.
I don't believe it.
Needless to say, my foot crushed his hand, and when he pulled his hand up, it had totally destroyed his fingernail. I mean, his fingernail was gone. I mean, blood, his fingers all like crooked up, I mean, there's people are screaming and crying, and family members are, how could you do this? You ruined Easter. I mean, it was.
And there's Charlie holding the egg.
Hey, I got 25 cents or whatever was in the stinking egg. My mom retold that story this weekend, and she said that is the last Easter egg hunt we ever did.
Were y'all laughing at the story?
This weekend we were like, well, I was laughing. Brian's like, my fingernail's still messed up. He's like, look at it. And it's sure enough, he's like, one of his, how your fingernails are all smooth, and like one of his was like janked up, So
That is very funny.
So that's the Easter egg hunt. But thankfully, this weekend's Easter egg hunt, it went really well. They had a petting zoo.
That's cool.
Snow cones. We had a good time.
Yeah, my son was actually, my son's 4. He was reminding me, he's like, Daddy, remember last year we did the Easter egg hunt? They had helicopters dropping the eggs? I'm like, I do. He goes, I did with my friend Everett. But we're not friends anymore because of that fight they had.
Oh, no.
So, I think they were arguing with each other. But anyway, that's a great story.
All right. So you talked about the Easter outreach and like how effective is that at bringing new people into the church. So question that I haven't previewed with you yet, but I'd be interested to hear what you said. So you guys just moved from out of town into town. So can you walk me through the process of how do you pick a church? Like, how are you evaluating a church? I guess it's a 2-part question. One would be, how are you guys evaluating a church?
Mm-hmm.
And then a second thing is, how do you think other people should evaluate a church just in general? like a picking of where they should go to church, like somebody moving from out of town or something like that?
Well, if you're married, I think it's a decision both of you need to agree on. So the backstory, you know, my wife and I are from Louisiana. My wife is from the city we're currently living in. And so the churches that are close to us, she's had a relationship with 2 of the 3 of those churches. And so we went to one of them, and you walk in and Hannah's super popular. Everybody's like, hey, good to see you, this and that. You know, church she grew up in. It's a smaller church. But when we left that one, she just felt like, she's like, I want to go somewhere new, like where it's just kind of a fresh start for us. I don't want to just go and it's like, hey, this is my husband. I want it to be, you and I are fairly new. Not many people know us there, which is hard, especially being...
Well, why is that important to her? Like, what do you think is behind?
I think there's probably perceived expectations of her. I mean, just because she was there, so maybe the expected involvement they want her to have because they know her. You know, like I see Hannah's back. Maybe you can start singing in the worship. You know, like, so I think she doesn't like that kind of pressure. We went to another church and it was okay, but we just didn't feel like it was where we needed to be. Then we went to Healing Place over the weekend, and we liked the message. You know, we liked everything about it, and we feel pretty good about it. So if I'm starting somewhere, I'm going to be open to try different churches. I'm going to pray about it. And if you're married, you want your wife to, you know, you both on board. I mean, we were in Texas. I mean, Dallas, Texas has great churches. I mean, there's no church. I mean, there's no bad church. I mean, you can go to, you know, Gateway Church, you know, Watermark, the Village. I mean, on and on. I mean, a lot of these pastors you know about are within in the Dallas area. So we just same thing. We just tried different ones, and if something was missing for either one of us, we would go somewhere else.
So when you're trying, so it sounds like, so part of the difference here is you had some history with these with churches here.
Yes.
Also, you also knew some people that went to all these different churches.
Yes.
And but it sounds like you would encourage people to try a couple of different churches, you know, but shop around. That's not necessarily the best way to say it, but visit a few different churches. But when you're visiting, I guess, what are you looking for, or how are you considering, like, whether or not this is a good one or not?
I would say the message, right? I mean, do you feel like with the message that's being told, is it rooted in truth? Is it impactful to you? A lot of times you'll go to a church and you feel like the message is in line with the season of life you're in. We do love worship, so that's a factor. I mean, it's not like it has to be this perfect worship service. I have now appreciated more and more location. I want it to be close to where I live, because a lot of times we go to church for, you know, it's like, hey,
in Dallas, y'all were having to make a hike across town.
When we lived in Dallas, we were driving about 25 minutes to go to church, which is not a big deal. But if you want to like do stuff outside of Sunday, that 25-minute drive turns into an hour because of traffic. But when we moved to Frisco, our campus was, 10 minutes from our house. So I think location is important, because I don't want to go to church just for me. I want to be able to be involved, serve in some capacity, serving my community. So location is important to me. We would drive if it made sense, but I like the idea of being close, especially with young kids. I mean, being able to get to church pretty quickly, because it takes, I mean, you know how it is, it takes 20, 30 minutes of, hey, it's time to go, when you find everybody in the car ready to go. So, I mean, I really feel you just have a peace about where you're at. I mean, and you got to be in agreement with your spouse. I mean, I feel like that's key. I wouldn't want to force my wife or have her force me to go to a church that she loves and I don't really care for, because you're both there and you're both being fed. Your children are going there. We did go to Healing Place over the weekend, and it was Dude, it was packed.
Well, I mean, it's their first service.
I don't know why. Maybe I just thought it would be.
They've been talking about it so Healing Place just opened a new campus.
Yes.
And they were on track to open this campus, and then we had all those floodings in August 2016, which set everything back and, you know, messed up everything. And so they pushed back. They were trying to pay for it all with financing that came in, not debt financing, if that makes sense. Like, they were trying to pay for it cash as they go, which is another thing. Is like, if they were debt financing it, they could have probably done it a lot sooner. So they've been talking about it a long time, and they've been doing tons of local outreach
Yes.
to that area over, you know, the past 2 years or whatever. They've been doing tons of work and outreach in the area. So when it was opening weekend, I think a lot of people, there was just a lot of hype to check it out. Plus,
Yeah.
you had the other you know, other locations probably showed up to support it too. So
Yeah, I mean, I think really prayer. Is this where God has us? Because, you know, I know people who go to a church and they really feel like they're there to serve. It's not based on, man, the message was, you know, like sometimes we'd follow the charisma of the pastor, the quality of the worship, but you want to be where God has you, because you don't know how He could use you in that church. I mean, because we all have a certain gifting. I mean, there's things that I can contribute that you can't, that the pastor can't. And so, you know, it's rooted in prayer and agreement with your wife, if I had to condense it down to two things. If you're single, you know.
yeah, I think everything you said. So we have not had to, you know, look for a different church, but there was a period of time that I was visiting a lot of the local churches here, not because we were looking for another church to go to, but because I wanted to be more familiar with our local church community and just see how are they doing it over, you know, here at this type. I just realized like that I had a very limited background of different types of worship, different types of services. And not everybody has the same order of service. Not everyone has the same type of music. And
Yeah.
so I went and I visited a bunch of local area churches to see what's it like. A big church, small church, community church, you know, all those different denominational things, just to kind of check it out. I came away with it with a much greater appreciation for the church that I currently go to, just because, you know, so for Healing Place, you know, it's great music, you know, everything's well done, it's spirit of excellence, you know. And so, and you just kind of start to take for granted things like the depth of talent on the worship team,
Sure.
or the depth of talent with the speaking and the messages, or just the other just creature comforts, you know, just the seats, or, you know,
The child care or the...
yeah, all those things. And, you know, so it gave me a greater appreciation for where we currently go to church, but it also gave me a greater appreciation to see how did other people do church? How did other people do worship? How did they do order of service? And sometimes with what I found with the smaller churches that I went and checked out was they had more flexibility in their schedule for, you know, like if they needed to have an extended time of worship.
Yeah.
Like they had a little bit more
Right.
flexibility. And then I've been on the receiving it, the bad side of that too, where the service goes on and on and on, like there's no end to the you know. So anyway, it's just very interesting. I mean, I think the way you said it was, you definitely have to be prayerful about the decision. You have to be in agreement. I think your own church background and, you know, the preferences, you know, style of worship, all those things have to get, of course, it has to be biblically
aligned,
sound. You know, you have to agree with the statement of faith. You have to, there's advantages to a small church and there's advantages to a big church. I go to a big church, and the advantages in a big church, besides just the depth or the quantity of relationships, is there's a lot of different opportunities to serve for a lot of different types of skill sets that at a smaller church does not seem to have that same number of opportunities. But the advantage at a smaller church has is the flexibility as
Yep.
well as the connection in and of the church body. Like the lead pastor knows the people
Yeah.
individually. The family, like if you're not there, they know you're not there.
Yeah.
They know you're missing. They know
Yeah.
that something might not be right, or
Yeah.
they're checking on you. Like it can be a tighter knit, where at a larger church,
Pastor
Yeah.
may not know who you are.
and the pastors have to be a lot more intentional about meeting the people and remembering their names and all those types of things. But you as an attendee have to be intentional about getting engaged, like getting involved in small groups or serve opportunities, because that's the way you take a big church and make it a small community
Yep.
church, is like those, Friday night, married Bible studies or whatever,
Well, if I was to move to a city I didn't know anybody, it was just myself and my family, my number one priority would be try to find a church to get plugged into, because being in Texas, my greatest relationships for myself as a man, and married couples, and with people with families, mentors, all great things came from the church. Like everything that I needed, that where I was able to contribute, all came from that church body I was with. And so that'd be
babysit. I mean, for y'all, it was babysitters because y'all were there with no family or anything.
Yeah. So it was. I'd make that a number one priority if I moved to a city I didn't know anybody in, because to me, when you truly find a church that you want to get plugged into, the relationships you'll make, they'll be the best relationships you'll ever have, because I feel like it's just a little more authentic. And not to say you can't have authentic relationships outside of church, but I have found that very authentic relationships, you go a little bit deeper, you have meaningful conversations. So that's a good question. It's a good thing to think about.
Anything else on the church subject before I'm going to pivot it just slightly?
No.
Okay, so I heard on NPR this weekend, they were talking about social isolation. So what made me think about it was, you said if I was moving to a new place, one of the first things I would do would be get plugged in to a new church. So they had some studies that have come out where they're looking at suicide rates. And they said they noticed, and I'm not going to, you could go find it on NPR yourself, but because it was like a 30-minute special. But they were looking at suicide rates, and they showed a significant and troubling uptick. So they said suicide rates overall had been declining, over the years. But they've noticed a significant uptick in middle-aged men and suicide rates. And they said early on they just kind of wrote it off as the financial recession. But the analysts said when you peeled back the data deeper, that it showed that it wasn't just one thing. Like, you couldn't just explain it away by saying financial pressures and the financial recession led to higher depression and suicide rates. And so they started peeling it back, and basically through these studies, and I'm summarizing this, someone's huge work. I'm summarizing in a 10-second segment, but they basically said that men today are more isolated socially than they ever have been before, and that previous generations, the social components, there was a lot more of community and things like that, to where things have, for men specifically, have gotten more isolated. They opened up a hotline that you could call in anonymous and leave a message, and they were playing some of the messages, and they said we had thousands of messages, and they noticed these themes throughout. When they're analyzing all the thousands of these messages, they noticed some like common themes throughout all these voicemails on this anonymous line or whatever. And it basically, the men were saying they don't have any friends, and that they not only do they not have friends, but the friends that they have, the depth of those relationships is not very deep. Like, it's not a great relationship. And that they're isolated, that they feel lonely, that they feel like they don't matter, like they're not important to anybody. And so they took that study and they were kind of talking about all the things that have led to that. We have social media and internet, and that, like where we work and play and go to church now is we're spread out. Like I live, 15, 20 miles away from my church. It's like, with social media, it's like there's more and more things. Instead of going out to the movies, we're just watching Netflix at home.
Yeah. Instead of going to church, I can watch it online.
Yeah, yes. And they listed a whole bunch of things that led to greater isolation. So then they did an experiment on the subway system in New York, which is not, and maybe it wasn't New York, but they did an experiment on the subway system where they had 3 groups of people. A group of people that their job was to talk to their neighbor. Another group of people where their job was to not talk to their neighbor. And the third group was like the control group, which was just do what you would normally do on the train, on the subway. And then they surveyed them afterwards and asked them, how did it go? And they asked them ahead of time, what % of people on the subway do you think want to talk to their neighbor versus want to just do their own thing? And everyone when they were given the survey ahead of time, said like, oh, probably 30%,
would want somebody to talk.
That most people would not want to be bothered. They just want to do their own thing. They want to look at their phone or listen to audiobook or listen to music or read whatever they're reading.
Now, is it whoever your neighbor is? Not like it's
whoever your neighbor is.
All right.
And but then they did the survey with the actual people in the train. Another random group of 2,000 people in the train. And it was something like 90% of the people in the subway said that they would. It was the opposite of what they thought. So the people thought, nobody's going to want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to do their own thing. But when they actually interviewed the subway riders, like 90% of them said like, oh yeah, that would make the time go by great to talk to somebody. I just don't want to be the one to open up the conversation. I don't want to be the one to start it.
Interesting.
And then they talked to the people after they talked. After the control group, talked to their neighbors, like how did they feel and all this stuff. And they basically, the response was great. That they met new people, that it was enjoyable. We had a great conversation. We found similarities. And they basically said there's two challenges. Starting the conversation and then keeping it going. And they said starting the conversation is difficult. And keeping it going can be difficult, but they typically say keeping the conversation going is the fear that prevents them from starting the conversation. It was just an interesting little study, about people and their just nature and all that. So look it up, NPR.
Do you agree with that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that we live in a world where it's very easy to stay isolated. I can have that false sense of relationship because I have 1,000 Facebook friends and so many people like my Twitter comment. But the truth is, it's not deep dialogue. I mean, there's no face-to-face interaction with people. It's interesting. I do try to challenge myself when I'm in public settings to just try to engage, whether it's the cashier or somebody in line, because I feel what that study is saying is true, that people want to engage, they want to be talked to, they want to be known. I mean, I think deep down inside we want to be known, but we're losing the ability or don't know how to do that. Think about that. Like back in the old days, you didn't have all this stuff, so I'm sure you knew how to engage in conversations. Today, you don't have to, and it's like very easily to get out of a conversation. I mean, look in an elevator. I promise you, in an elevator, when you get in there, people automatically pull out their phone because maybe that fear of having to engage in a conversation, have nothing to talk about, or as you said earlier, keep the conversation going.
So my brother, when they were in college, he had some friends that they would play a game with trying to date girls, trying to get girls' numbers. They would play a game of, I think it was like a ridiculous dance moves. Like, I bet you can't do this dance move and still get that girl's number. And so It's just over and over, night after night, and it is an informal social experiment. But they basically came to the conclusion that it doesn't matter how you open the conversation. The fact that you're opening the conversation is the key factor to success or not success. And their little experiment is, did I get the girl's number, or did I get to spend more time with her, or whatever. But you can also look up on YouTube. They do these social experiments where, asking 1,000 girls for their number or whatever, and it's just like it doesn't matter how you open. It's just getting started. So someone taught me this 4-step process to being able to open and maintain a conversation, and they called it the Ford method. F-O-R-D. Have we ever talked about that before?
Yes, but I forgot what it stands for.
So F-O-R-D. So the F stands for family, the O stands for occupation, the R stands for recreation, and the D stands for like dreams and aspirations.
Gotcha.
So they said for most guy to guy friend relationship, the O, the occupation.
Sure.
So when you first meet somebody, what do you do for a living? What kind of work do you do? Is the easiest opener. Well, for a lot of girls, that's the same thing too. It's like that's an easy one to start with. It's just occupational because it's safe. It's not like you're going for the jugular of like, tell me about your dreams and aspirations. Like you start at this safe thing, like tell me about your work, and you can build from there. And then when you have exhausted the work, the occupation, then you transition to either what do you like to do for fun, or what'd you do this weekend that was fun, or what'd you do last week, or did you take any vacations? That's the R. Or about the family. Are you an only child, or you got siblings? Like moving into that realm. And then the deepest level of connection was at the D, dreams and aspirations, plans for the future,
Yeah. Which,
thoughts.
I mean, do you think you could get to that level in an initial conversation with somebody?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, I think if I was on the receiving side of that, it wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
I'd be fine. And so I know that there's people out there that are like me that'd be happy, or just an open book, and would be happy to talk about it. But I think that if you had enough time, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen in an elevator, but I think if you had enough time to talk with someone, that I think you probably could get to that pretty, not easily, but I think the conversation could get there.
That's interesting.
But it is helpful to like think about, like when you're at a party or an event and you don't know like how to start the conversation or really how to keep it going. That is a simple method that I have found useful.
Yeah, at parties, if I'm at a party, I don't know anybody, I bust out the knee slide. But let's say, for example, I go you invite me to your kid's birthday party, and I'm there, and there's a guy I don't know. I'm like, so how do you know the Harpers?
Yeah.
And so I think that's always an easy.
Yeah.
Oh well, this and that. We're in a life group together. Oh, okay, cool. How long? Whatever. But there is an artistry and an intentionality of engaging in conversation, which I feel like you and I do a pretty good job of. Like, we'll talk to anybody. So, but hey man, it's 2:00. I gotta do a firm lockdown at 2. Any closing thoughts?
None. I think just keep on rocking it
Okay,
with your bad self.
I will.
I think that people are eager to make a new friend. I think you always have, the rare weirdo introvert type that like really doesn't want to engage with people, just really socially awkward. But I think even those people have a desire to want to have good relationships. They just are, I mean, like being an extrovert or introvert, like I don't think one is better or worse. I don't think that's the factor.
Yeah.
But I think that everybody, and according to this NPR study, that was the respondent of the people, was that most people would have been happy to talk. So it definitely lowers that initial barrier to conversation of like, if knowing that data that people are interested in talking lowers that initial hurdle, as being an extrovert to start that conversation, or if you're an introvert to just go ahead and start the conversation. There's like a 90% chance the person on the other side wants to.
Yeah, what I have to work on, if somebody's an introvert, I got to do a better job of asking the questions and shutting up. Like, I can keep talking. Everybody's doing a better job of asking, and just instead of trying to think of the next question, actually listen to what they're saying. I'll wrap up with this. So, if Jesus, who, Son of God, is walking the earth and had 3 intimate friends, that means I probably should too. I think three. If you have 3 intimate friendships, it's probably the most you can have and maintain a depth to it. Because with a relationship, it requires commitment and time. You're keeping in touch with that person. So it's always a good blueprint for me.
So, someone told me once that if you want to have good friends, you have to be a good friend.
Wow,
So
that's true. All right, man. Pleasure. Cheers. Mine's empty.